last week on the Al Nicoletti Show. Without further ado, let's welcome AJ Aluthwala to the show. AJ, let's do this.
I'm where I am today because of the networking I've done. You need to have good relationships with the people whom you invest with. If you do a lot of networking, then you can easily vet people out and see what your active real estate investors are investing in,
right,
money-wise, and then you go in on those deals too.
Relationships are everything. Like you said, the right relationships. You're not pooling it with people that you don't know.
If you really want to scale your real estate game and you have a day job like me, I would say the best course of action for you is being an passive real estate investor.
Creating your first app. Where do we even begin?
Someone asked you a question about a certain thing and then you try to look it up and it's not there, and then you thought that I wish there was an app for it. That's where it starts.
If someone's finding that there's a need for themselves, there's going to be a need for others for that app.
When you have an idea for an app, don't delay it. Act on it, because before you know it, someone else will have that same bright idea. You want to have a product, you get it out there, and then you can keep on building on it.
How important is it to keep it really basic early on, and then you can always implement more things later?
You want to throw everything in your mind on paper, but then you select these are the points that you want to actually implement. Then the app developer will see your grand vision for your product.
All of this is just laying the foundation early on for the app experience.
What happens if you take a Corolla body, put on a Ferrari? Does it make it a Ferrari? No, right? It does not make it a Ferrari, right?
It may drive like a Ferrari.
It can drive like a Ferrari, but it's not gonna look good, right? People are gonna think that there's something wrong with the Corolla because it's so loud. I'm not saying that you want to always build a Ferrari or you want to always build a Corolla. Make sure that the skin of whatever you're doing matches the engine. Don't sit at your desk, even if you're an app developer. Get out there, do more networking, more doors will open up for you.
Love it. Get up out of the desk, get out there, go outdoors, go network, build relationships. Boom, you have it. AJ, what a blast. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you, Al. Really appreciate you.
If you missed any of last week's episode, you got to go back, check it out on the Al Nicoletti YouTube channel, the Facebook page under Al Nicoletti, the Instagram at Attorney Nicoletti, where we have all the micro content constantly dropping. And of course, if you scan the QR code, I love it when Mike posts this QR code, because if you scan the QR code will get you to the link tree. The link tree just has everything there. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube. Everywhere. Make sure you subscribe, because we are always pumping out content. And of course, while we have the show, you'll see all the content on probate, quiet titles, partitions, all the weird stuff in the title world, and all the amazing guests on the Al Nicoletti Show. Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, Season 4. We love it. We see you all out there. We love when the fans are on the show live. And another Wednesday night, 9 p.m. live in the Al Nicoletti studio. It's another great episode coming, and I hope you all stay tuned. This is a special one for me, because when I first started the show, this is where I was starting to try to build out where the show was going. It was in the beginning stages of the idea of the show. It's really interesting. So we'll dive in on that, but stay tuned. Everybody drop comments, ask questions, take lots of notes. I'm always taking notes, and I want you all to participate, because this is for you all out there. We bring on the best guests, and we love when you all are watching the show. So let's rock this thing. Hey, everybody. My name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida, and welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in their communities that educate, entertain, and inspire all things on Florida real estate, and bringing people from all over the country doing all different things in our real estate world and a little outside of the real estate world. It doesn't have to be just in the real estate world. Maybe there's people coming on the show that are talking about services related to the real estate industry, or their services or what they talk about and the value they bring relates to real estate or businesses. Maybe it's mindset, productivity, talking about boundaries, things that help improve us, improve our lives in our business, on how you can take your company to the next level. I am so excited to get with Heather Blatz on the show tonight. This is going to be an exciting one for you all. It's very different. When I first was in the initial stages of thinking about the show, thinking about the Al Nicoletti Show, where's it going? What's the idea? One of the beginning stages was trying to bring on real leaders, from all over Florida so we can talk about building out communities, best practices to growing a community, getting investors, getting realtors to come to meetings, and what the idea of it was. And I remember in the beginning, it was pretty hard trying to get some of the RIA leaders to come on. We've had Mike Grangine on from Jack's RIA. I can't even remember if there's another one from another RIA, and it was hard, but this was something I thought about early on, and I am so happy to have Heather Blatz on because she runs REIG in Fort Walton Beach. I've spoken there twice. It's incredible, the community that she has built there and what they're doing, and to continue to grow an investor community and just a community in general is extremely impressive. So I'm honored to have her on the show. I love seeing her every time. And it's crazy. Heather and I, we got connected because I saw Tyler Austin speaking at her event in Fort Walton Beach. And I thought, oh my gosh, there's a RIA out in Fort Walton Beach. I'm like, what's going on? I remember reaching out to her. I said, hey, love to connect. From there, spoke at her event in February 2022 or January 2022. And we kept in touch. I was just there in April of this year and spoke there. And it's amazing. I mean, she's got people coming. She's got people really interested, new people, seasoned investors. And you could just tell everybody's engaged in the community, in the Panhandle. And the Panhandle, that's another niche market for a lot of people out there. So I'm ready to dive in. I always do an opening monologue. And my opening statement tonight is this: as we transition into Heather's episode, community is everything. Community is how we all grow. We have to be a part of these communities. A lot of people watch things virtually. They watch the show, they watch things on social media, but there's nothing like going to these groups. Like, I was just at Glenn Friedman's group not too long ago, and just the investors in that group, the people that come out, want to connect. They want to meet. They want to set up meetings after, follow up, and just meeting new people. I mean, I was at Glenn's group 2 years ago, and there were so many new people at this recent meeting. And being able to meet new people really helps the community grow. And it takes all of us to help that grow. So I think it's so important that you get involved in your local community. I mean, you all know I fly everywhere. I'm like going all over the place, Houston, Milwaukee, all these places. I come back and I realize that there's nothing like having a local community. There's nothing like being a part of it, because this is where you live, you work, you play, and you have to all be a part of it. So transitioning into Heather's episode, this will play a big part of it, because what she's able to do and the magic she's done in Fort Walton Beach is so impressive. So without further ado, let's welcome Heather to the show. Heather Blatz, love seeing you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was great. I love hearing you talk. I want to be like you one day, Al. You're so fluid in your speaking. I just love it.
Thank you. I don't know. There's no practice. I mean, it's just, I should say, I always practice on what I do and I speak, but it's always a work of art, right? Like anything we do in our business, we're always practicing. So this is not just a one-off, like this is it. Like it's been years of just working on it. So Heather, love seeing you. I'm so honored. I was so happy that I got to see you in Fort Walton Beach, the investor community. It's amazing. I got to ask, when you got into real estate, when you got into this world, what was the biggest aha moment, lesson that you learned jumping in?
Gosh, It's actually been a little while for me. I jumped into the real estate world right outside of college. I happened to have a marketing teacher in college that had us read different books and obviously talk about community. He really developed a community within his, he was a marketing director at the business school there in Georgia. And it just book after book on, I mean, entrepreneurship, all of the first book I read was How to Manage Your Mouth. So all the different things with being an entrepreneur, but the real estate side of it. I read all the John Maxwell books. I read Robert Kiyosaki. And so I knew when I got out of college that I was going to really quickly get my real estate license and figure out what this whole magic of real estate was. And so the vastness of where you can go and what you can do and the opportunity, regardless your age, was just unbelievable to me. And I've been really doing it ever since.
Yeah. The book, what is that? How to Manage Your Mouth? That's I've never heard of that one before.
I remember it was red. It was kind of skinny. I had to been the first book I read, but it was great because somebody told me that I had a lot of really great things to say, but I lacked tact. So I was like, I need to read that book.
Yeah, tact is something a lot of people have to work on because, we deal in a business world, right? And being able to have that tact is what soothes things out and you're able to really elevate. So love it. Heather, the other big question I always ask in the beginning of my show is every day or every week or every month, maybe you're doing something that helps you stay sharp, have that mental acuity, that high performance, because I believe that in order to elevate your game, scale your business, perform every single day at such just a high level, there's got to be something or three things that you do that help get you there every single day. What is that thing or couple things that help you perform at the highest level all the time?
I love that question. Jared and I were talking about this last night. And my first answer would be constantly evaluating, because we could often be doing things that we think we love, but they may be on the other end actually hurting us some. So constantly evaluating, journaling, talking about how our days are going, and figuring out what we like about them, what we don't like about them, and then what we're going to do to change them. So evaluation, I think, is number one. But as far as physically doing things, really big on what I'm eating and how my body feels. So if I'm tired or if I'm lethargic or my brain's not functioning very well, is really looking at how much water I'm drinking and what types of food, how's my stomach feeling. For all the females out there, every female pretty much has stomach issues, especially if they've had children. So having, operating internally at a high level. I stay active. I used to do CrossFit. I've since had knee surgery. So now I do a lot of stretching and hot yoga. And then the wind down, I sleep, I make sure I'm in bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I, go to sleep. And so I don't do anything at night that wouldn't wind me down, if that makes sense. So I would definitely say those are the top one. There's more than that, but that would be the top three for me.
Yeah, a lot of people love doing yoga, right? Whether it's yoga or hot yoga or even the stretching. But those little things, I talked about this on the show one time, which is just doing the little things like that have the biggest impact, and they have the biggest impact on your performance. Because for you to stay on the calls, do the emails, stay sharp, critically think. I think that's the biggest thing about the high performance is having that high performance to critically think all throughout the day is so important. So being able to do those things, I think it's great that you do that, because there may be people out there that they thought about it, but they just haven't acted on it, or they've wondered about it and said, wait a second, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. I want to perform at that level. So I love that answer. It's amazing. And speaking of which, your mom, your super mom, right? And you're a realtor and investor and community leader. How are you doing everything? I mean, that's crazy. I had Zach Wooltridge on my show, and he's like super dad, how do you do super mom all the time?
Yeah. Well, I would definitely say it's a priority for me. I have 5 kids and a blended family. We have 6. So Jared has 1, I have 5. And I never put a thought process on how many kids I was going to have when I grew up. You know, when I was younger, my mom had 3, 2, my brother and I are the same age, and then 1 later on in life. And so I didn't grow up in a household that was full of kids or anything. But I did grow up like kind of poor and lacked a lot of things, to include I didn't grow up with a dad and didn't have that family orientation like throughout life. And my mom was working 3 jobs, and I didn't grow up in sports or involvement and things. And so when that door opened for me later on in life, and I really knew and understood how a childhood could be, having kids and wanting to be a part of that was almost like me reliving my childhood, if that makes sense. And so I also have a very strong belief that we were put here to impart our lessons learned and our experiences into the younger ages, whether it's our kids or, like you're doing here with, all of your the videos, and you're educating people. So for me and my kids, I just I think that they deserve a life that offers everything that they possibly could jump into. And I know that I need to have money for that.
Mhm. Yeah.
I need to be have the time to be able to get them involved in the things they want to be involved in. I have a child that plays piano. I have 2 of my kids play volleyball. One of them is a varsity track runner. The other one is a gymnast, and now she's doing like back tucks and starting to join cheer. And she's 10. And so those are the older 3, and the other 2 are babies, so they haven't really started anything. But that means I have to be actively involved. So I have to be intentional about what I'm doing. I have to be intentional about my time.
Right.
I have to bring them on board to the same techniques that allowed me to be successful. I bring them on board as old as they could when they got phones. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. So if they want to do something, they have to put it on the calendar for me to say yes or no to. And teaching them those things that allow me to be successful helps them be successful, and it also allows us to be successful as a family. So we all take part in everything that has to go on so we can have peace at the house. So I'm talking about during the week, but also on the weekends, so we can travel, the volleyball travel and track, and so we can go on the boat, and so we can have good quality time together. I hope that makes sense, her.
Yeah, no, it's great. You're implementing the concepts and principles you learned in your business, and in shining a light on that to your children, so that they're raised right from the beginning, and that you show them the right way. Then when they get older, it's like ingrained in their mind. It's already implemented that they're going to be able to calendar things and be structured, be organized, right? That's a hard thing for people as they get older, is like being able to stay organized, time management, right? But you're able to teach them at a younger age. It's great. So you're an example to them, and they're going to appreciate that when they get older. So being able to work and travel, go to all their sporting events, and relax at the same time. It's crazy, because it's like, is there really any relaxing when you have kids? And
Yeah. We talk about that too. Sometimes we're like, one person will stay the night somewhere. We're like, oh my gosh, it's so silent. We only have 5 here instead of 6. It's just something about that other level, that brings it down a little bit. But yeah.
Love it. I love seeing that. It's very inspiring to people that always wonder about, hey, I'm running a business. I'm scaling, is there time for family? And yes, Heather makes time, and she shows them how to do it too at the same time. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And shout out to Jared. I know Jared's gonna be watching this. And so I love seeing you both at REIG. It's great. It was a great meetup. Heather, let's talk about the community you've built in Fort Walton Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said in the opening, I think that being able to put a community together is extremely impressive. It's difficult getting people to show up in person at a meeting.
Yeah.
It's hard to get the right speakers and the right people to come up in the room, building the right panels, structuring it in a certain way. Tell us first the why did you start the community in Fort Walton Beach?
Sure. That's a great question. And I've been asked quite often because actually by a lot of realtors too, because they're like, gosh, can I come too? Like, why did you start this? Is it okay me being a realtor? Is it competition? I did not start it so I could get more business as a realtor. I run a very successful real estate brokerage, and that wasn't the reason. I wasn't reaching out to build, a community for business. It was, we wanted not only people that wanted to be investors to get more information, but I realized that I don't have all the answers. And but I talked about it so much and my journey in investing and how much I love it, that I became this person that people would always call and ask. And so then I was out there finding out the answers. And it was, by the end of, probably a year into it, I've got all these contacts of people that are in the investment world. And then the same questions are repeating, right? Same people are calling about the same things. And so, my gosh, why don't we just all meet up and see if we can help each other? Because I was reaching out to people that were 5 years ahead of me in the real, investing community, purchasing apartments and, limited partnerships on things like that. And we want to get there. So, and I just threw it out there. What if we just started once a month and just met? We can go to the craft bar right over here. They have this little outside area. And, I called. They're like, yeah, come on. No big deal. It was a Tuesday night. So no big deal. And we did. And the first day, 45 people came. Wow. And all we did was put, there was 2-week notice. We put it on. I just put it on Meetup because that's what Matt Gardner was doing. He was putting his on Meetup. So I was like, oh, I'll just put it on Meetup. And 3 months into that, we were overflowing. We couldn't even meet there anymore.
What do you think was so intriguing about having that meeting and even posting it last minute? What was there a message? Was there a flyer that just seemed to grab everybody, or was just everybody itching to have an in-person meeting?
Yeah, probably during that time, because I think it was 2020. It was post, everything. So that probably had something to do with it. The community, I mean, we have a pretty good outreach here where we're constantly helping people, but I've called people and asked questions. Tyler, hey, tell me, do you have an answer for this? Or Matt, I see that you're doing this. Can you connect me in some way, or what advice do you have? And Ariane and Chris, they run a very successful multifamily business now. And I would call them, and we kind of all over the years were reaching out and helping and watching each other on social media. And so I think you've got this crew of people that are moving probably pretty simultaneously through life. I mean, freaking Tyler is 20 something years old. I say simultaneously. I don't mean by age. I just mean by the years of jumping in.
Right.
And, we were all doing something a little bit different. And so I think the social media aspect just really reaches a lot of people. But probably that, and they want to learn. I mean, you're doing something that inspires somebody else, and they're like, well, if she can do it, then I can do it. Like you said, with kids, it's like, well, if she can run a success. I started my business, my third baby was 1. And when I was taking her around with me, I mean, I nursed all 4 of my youngest kids for 15 months. So, and 2 of those babies didn't take bottles. So they were around me all the time. And I was still running these businesses and finding a way to be with them and go out and do all of these things. And when you connect with people like that on social media, they're like, well, if she can do it, then I sure as heck can do it. So
right. Yeah. That's very impressive. And a lot of people start these meetings and they start the meetups and they just do it at a local brewery or a local restaurant, right? Mm-hmm. But it seems that the community grew to a point where you moved it to the Fort Walton Beach, Fort Walton Yacht Club.
Yep.
And then it became bringing on speakers, bringing in more education. How did that all kind of start? Because, some people, they'll either start a meetup or they'll do an event, but then to get it to that level, like what was the interest with bringing in the speakers?
Probably some experience that I've had. I am this year the president-elect of Women's Council, and so last year I was the treasurer. So I think just being involved in different things with the chamber, just watching how stuff went. I'm also probably more of a visionary than anything else as far as the entrepreneur character or personality type, and I get really bored really fast. So the thought process of sitting there while everyone stood up and said, "Hi, my name is, and this is what I'm looking for," it was too monotonous for me. And so we actually did a lot of things that year. Calling speakers was one of them. Like, I don't know how to teach what you teach, and you even reaching out to me was like, gosh, I want to know that. And so that, and then also there was stuff that I didn't know, and call an inspector. Hey, can you come and tell people, what to look for when they're going to these houses? Teach them about aluminum wiring. Teach them about what buyers are looking for, what insurance requires. I stay in my vein of what I know how to do. Actually, I didn't even speak at my real estate event until the second year after 2.5 years. And then I spoke once. And every other time it's been different speakers or networking events or games. And my whole thing is that there's so many people out there that know more than I do. And that's the value that I want to bring to the community itself.
And yeah, and that brings up a point of something you mentioned, which is access to resources, right? It's having everybody come into a meeting and bring in the experts or the people that are surrounded in a niche, and being able to help provide your community the education, the understanding, and giving back in that way so that they can learn. Maybe it's not that they're using them in particular, but they now can take that knowledge and apply it to, oh, wait a second, I need to pivot. Maybe the market's changing.
Yes.
I need to go do this, right?
Yeah. One little shift, for people, right? I think you spoke previously on that comfortable, if you're comfortable, then you're not really growing or nothing in your life is changing. I laugh because one of my kids this week, I said, hey, why don't we put you in volleyball and let you try it out? I'm not good at volleyball. I don't know how to play volleyball. It was all like this. That doesn't sound fun. All these things. I'm like, gosh, you sound like the adults that I'm around, Every time we say like, hey, why don't you try this? And they're like, well, I don't know how to do that. And, we have the same like childish response, but that's kind of what you want. You just want a different reaction to your own responses, So if somebody comes in and they're like, did you know that you can look up death certificates? Did you know that you can, let people know you may not know how to do probate, but now you have a contact that knows how to do probate. And if you have a neighbor or so-and-so's brother that is trying to sell a house, don't say, oh, I guess I can't get it. They gotta go through probate. Now you have a connection. Now you have another area where you need to learn a little bit more so you can go and communicate with them and connect them. And that's really what opportunity is all about. Opportunity is not going to show up on your doorstep, right? You got to go out there, but you have to know that it exists and you have to be searching for it. And I think that's what all the speakers bring.
Right. And I think it's a fascinating thing too, as a speaker, to show up at your event and to see how you moderate it and you move the group, right? Like doing the open mics in the beginning where everybody's standing up talking about who they are, what their business is, maybe a need or an ask or a share, something like that. And it's fascinating because, for a lot of people, they never get that opportunity, and that's their either opportunity to talk about their business, what they're struggling with, what they need, somebody maybe in the room that has it. So you're giving people the platform to talk about what struggles or what issues are bubbling. And that's important too, right? Sharing experiences.
Oh yeah. So, just because some people will sit at a table with people that they know, or if they don't and they sit at a table, some of them just won't talk, right? And so if you make them talk and say something, then hopefully the desire is that that connects, and then it gives somebody, that open door to communicate. But we've had people in there that have never bought real estate before and partner. And then a lender comes and talks, and so they're like, hey, let's go talk to this lender. Then all three of them sit at a table and they're like, how can we do this? Well, now we have to go find a property. And then they onboard somebody else that just wants to be a part of it or watch it. And now they have partnerships. Or I've had contractors. I sold somebody's house, and he was a contractor and he wanted to start flipping properties on his own instead of working with somebody else. I'm like, oh, you should come to this real estate event. So he comes. Well, there was somebody else that owned 2 or 3 properties, and they hadn't worked on them yet because they couldn't find a contractor. They connected that night. He renovated all 3 of those or 2 of those houses, however many it was. They were working together before, it. I start seeing it on Facebook. And it's not like they stand up and share it. These are just things that are occurring, that are happening. And just because they're together, they're in that community, they're rubbing elbows with the same people. And then you've got the other side of it where people are like, they have these limiting beliefs of their upbringing, their culture, their mindset, or whatever it is. And then they get around, they're like, wait a minute, that's not true. Oh, you can do that, or you can buy that, or, it's possible to think this way. And they just really shift their own, I call it culture mindset, because it's not that it's a mindset that they're choosing. It's just their upbringing.
Yeah.
It's where they came from. It's the culture that they were living in that taught them these things, their parents or grandparents or whatever it may be. And that just sparks start flying. And it could take somebody 6 months, a year, 2 years to actually take a step. But now they know that they can. Now their limiting beliefs are starting to disappear.
Yeah. And just by showing up and going to the meetings, and even if you're meeting another familiar face again, you're starting to, some of those people really open up and eventually lean on each other for support in the group when a deal's about to fall apart, or they need a JV partner, or they need, oh, wait a second, you do private money? Oh, I got this one deal. It's going to make $100,000 spread, but I don't have any of the funding for, oh, wait, you do that. And so having this networking and the community helps, bring out the real support among each other, which is beautiful, right? Like the why you started the group, it's like all of it's morphed into like a new animal. Yeah. And it's great because people take notice of it. They come out to the events, they show up, and people want to share. They want to be a part of it. You like, I saw some people that were in the room that were nodding their head every time I talked about something with probate. They were nodding their head. It's interesting. Even the seasoned people want to come in.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, and you'll find if you're looking to do something like this, you'll find there's not everyone's going to come to every single meeting. But I have not done the numbers, but I swear there's at least 40% of new people in every meeting. And then the people that come, consistently, I say consistently, they're at least coming to 50% of the meetings in a whole year. And, somebody might miss 3-4 meetings. But then that flow of constant new people is just unbelievable to me. And that just means, and I'll ask them every now and then, people are inviting people, and some of them still see it on Facebook, and or they hear about it. Somebody posted about it, or a new speaker, a new topic comes in. That's what they want to learn about. Just this week, I've had 3 people reach out to me about things. Hey, I talked to somebody in the group, and I know that, three times ago, there was this person. Do you have that person's number? And they didn't have that need then, but they have it now. And they remember that that's where it came from.
Yeah. Or the ones that will hear you talk at an event, and then like 8-9 months later, them reaching out or saying, who is that person? Like it's the craziest thing. People they'll remember who was there, or the connections they made, or maybe they didn't keep the business card, but they know somebody that knows somebody. But I like what you're saying is it's the idea of having this community is building, it's creating opportunities, right? It's creating partnerships and access to transaction needs and lending that somebody just wouldn't know about, right? Like that is the goal and the morph that this created, right? This is now totally taken on a life of its own.
Oh yeah. You know, I spoke at the Women's Council. So we have a chance to kind of do a prayer or like an inspiration. And I did pretty much do one a year. We rotate people. But what came to my mind that morning, we had just been through a season with a volleyball season where my daughter and her team, they were actually losing. They were like an 8-game losing streak. And they were being very like snippy with each other. And the 8th game that they lost, they were like, you know, oh, why didn't you get that? You know, they just kind of, it's really rude to each other. And afterwards, we sat them down, a couple of the parents, and we were like, hey, listen, like, I understand that you feel the way that you feel. This is a team sport. And the last thing you want to do is knock down your players.
Mm-hmm.
And,
right.
you know, and I equated it to a rise up occasion. And I said, you know, in my life, I've gone through all these rise up moments, rise up as a mom, rise up as an entrepreneur, rise up, you know, in whatever relationships that we're in. We can't wait for other people to do that, right? We have to be the ones that go, I'm going to rise up to this occasion. And, you know, that kind of culture, right? I talked about it in this group of women who's Women Council of Realtors. Why are you going to hang out with a bunch of realtors, right? And it's like that's the reason, because we are in that volleyball team was a team. They were in it to win together. They can't win without each other. And each person playing a different role, each person playing a different part. The team of realtors, the organization of realtors is a team. You know, to equate to like an energy in the area of who realtors are. And the same thing, I mean, we're supporting each other. And, you know, you may be going through something, and if you're not, and I equated this to a situation that happened when I was younger. My daughter, that same daughter, was an infant. And I was at the gym at this point. I ran the gym, and one of my other daughter got sick, and I called my grandmother to watch her. And I was like, I'm so sorry you have to watch my kid, right? So I'm thinking, alone. I'm in this life alone. I'm so sorry you have to watch my kid. I'm going to run to work real quick. I took the baby with me because I was nursing. And I'm like, get all these appointments in one, right? Alone mindset. I'm alone. Didn't ask anybody else at the office to help or at the gym to help. I just went there and I did it. And my thought process was alone. And I get my baby, put her in the car, and run home, and I jump into the house, and I'm like freaking out. Like, I'm so sorry you had to come here, you know, and watch my kid, your granddaughter, great granddaughter. And a few seconds later, she's like, hey, Heather, where is Allie? And I freak out, right? Stop breathing. I run out. She's still in the car. And I'm like, I grab her out of the car. I come inside the house. I passed out. I wake up. My grandma's like, everything's okay. And she said, Heather, you were not in this life alone. But nobody can convince you that. It's time for you to rise up and take that, you know, understanding, that knowledge, and live life in community, live life, you know, not alone. And I feel that right there represents every single thing that we are involved in, right? Because when we can go into a place and rise up ourselves and go, you know what? I don't have all the answers. I'm not alone. Like, I've got to figure out, I've got to reach out and ask questions and be involved and stop thinking that I know everything, or stop pretending that I know everything. And so to me, that's what community means. Obviously, it came at a cost. I mean, my baby was okay. But, you know, cost to my ego, like, who wants to admit that they leave their child in their car? That's a thing, you know? And, but it was a reality check for me, because I wasn't alone. I wasn't the only person that could watch my kid. I wasn't the only person that could take care of these clients at the gym, and, you know, so on and so forth. And that can be, widespread to various, situations that people are in. But that the whole point is rising up, you know, whatever your role may be a part of the community, whatever role that is. Because I'm sure there's a role for you to learn something, but maybe there's a role for you to not know everything, and absorb something so you can play your part in life. I mean, let's face it, whether you have kids or you don't have kids, I said this earlier, your job in life is to do what you do and pass on those experiences. And if you're not putting yourself in the place, for community and to grow and to do what you came to this earth to do, then you're not doing that.
I love it. You couldn't have said it any better. I mean, everything you just said there made a lot of sense. And I think that is going to resonate with a lot of people out there that have had those limiting beliefs and, need to let those limiting beliefs go and realize, well, wait a second, there's more out there. I need to be a part of more, not be afraid to ask questions, not be afraid to make these deep connections with people and just, and make that leap of faith. Right. And that's what you did. And it seemed, to me, I wrote this down. It seemed like that moment was a deep-seated moment for you that kind of stuck with you to where maybe that's where the why came in with starting the group, right? It was that, like, being able to bring everybody together because you weren't alone. And that's where it all began.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it.
Amazing. Wow. That was an amazing story. I think, again, what you're doing in Fort Walton Beach is so unique. I remember 2019 or 2020, I looked it up because I looked up like where every RIA is. Like now I know where like all the RIAs are. I know where everybody's at. But I remember I was like, there's got to be a RIA in the Panhandle. And I remember there was like nothing there. Like there was maybe one, but there was like no Facebook groups or anything. And like you're there and it's amazing. And also from the whole Al Nicoletti studio team, we just want to say thank you for allowing us to share the content in the REIG Facebook page because we love posting, we love sharing, value information. That's your community on the virtual side on Facebook, and being able to put that together. It's fascinating. You got the in-person group, then you got the Facebook group. You match everybody, and being able to have you on the show that will get shared in the group just shows like people who you are, why you did this, what was the whole point of it. And that's what we want to show people, is that there's a value to being a part of Heather's community. There's a value to creating a group and creating a community that can bring everybody together from different walks of life, different topics, subjects, commercial land, marketing, doesn't matter what it is, being a part of it is so important. So I love it. Yeah. Heather, let's talk about this other concept that you mentioned to me, which is the 7 priorities of life. I think this sounds like a principle, like it's Heather Blatz's principle of life, but 7 priorities, right? I mean, you have taking care of yourself, building a support team, a bunch of different things, but I know you wanted to fine tune on a few of them. What are some of the ones that we really have to know when it comes to prioritizing things in life?
Sure. So these are things that I've built over time based on constantly evaluating and wanting to improve myself and my time with my kids, the whole balance, conversation that people have. Not too long ago, I spoke at another event, and that was their question. Like, how do you balance? How do you balance everything? And then you've got all these books that say there's no such thing as balance, right? I'm like, what kind of? It just depends on how you define balance. And, one of the things that, how you hear those things and you just accept them for what they are instead of questioning them, where like everyone's like, oh, spirit of excellence, 10X, I'm a Grant Cardone fan. So 10X everything. And, but in reality, if let's just say like your efforts are a 0 to 10 and you were a 10 on everything, is that even possible? Like it's just not possible. You can't be a 10 on everything.
Right.
You only have so much time. You only have so much capacity. Like your brain, your heart, like it can only take so much.
Right.
And so the reality of balance like comes in understanding that it's okay to not be a 10 on everything. If you were a 10 on working out, then that's all you would do. If you were a 10 on eating healthy, that's all you would do. That's, all you'd be focused on. You never eat a donut or chocolate in your day. It's like impossible, right? And it doesn't even sound good. Like that doesn't even sound good. So understand that balance is this like graph of 0 to 10, and you have little, oh, I'm a 5, I'm a 7, I'm a whatever, And the idea is you don't want to be below a 5 on too many things, because that's a low effort. So somewhere above 5 is about where you want to be. So if you've got something that's getting close to 10, that means something else is getting close to 0. And just the understanding of that. And in order to do that, being a couple of things that I put down that I think a lot of people like us are A-type, or, the DISC profile, the high Ds, the drivers, we have none of these 7 priorities are easy. None of them. For my type of personality, I'm a D on the DISC. I'm an A-type, I'm whatever, the Enneagram, all those things. It's whatever that extremist is, right? So none of these are easy. For me, the learning to say no was a big deal, which I started probably 7 years ago. And I read Lisa TerKeurst's book, The Best Yes. And it was a Christian perspective of, because a lot of times, I don't know, there's probably people listening that go to church or are involved in church. And it's just like, everything they come to ask you, and you're like, yes, I have to say yes. You can say no, So, that was where I was at in my life at that time. I was a youth minister. I was in women's, group, and I was leading worship. So all of those things on top of having kids, on top of, the businesses. And it was like pulling on my heartstrings. Like, I want to say yes, but where is the best yes? Because if you're not giving your best yes, then maybe your yes is actually hurting you and other people. And so learning and understanding that saying no is not a bad thing, because saying no could possibly be saving the situation or somebody from, not getting the best thing out of it. I may not be the right person for you right now because of my time commitment, because of the priorities that I have in my life. And so that's not easy, because you probably want to say yes to every single event that you're asked to speak at.
Oh, it was pretty hard at the beginning, because it's like, how do you say no? You're speaking on stages, you're going here, you're going there. It's and it's funny you mentioned that, because there's been a little shift in that, because it's impossible to go to every single thing. You have to start really figuring out, well, wait a second. If I go to all these things, the law firm, who's managing, who's being able to green light and approve documents? I mean, I don't have that like law firm support yet. So it's like, if I go to everything, I'm losing it on one side. If I don't go to things, I have all this extra time and stuff. And it's like, well, I want to be going to these things. So the power of saying no, which is why I love that you have this as a priority, is something that can help be a time saver. It's something that you can use to help get the clients that you want. Maybe it's not every person maybe not everything's a fit. So it's a no, but it starts shifting and sifting out the things that you really want to work on or really want to do versus things you don't have to even get into.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's a great principle. And I also see here staying organized. Like we talked about in the beginning, like that's another principle. It's hard for a lot of people to stay organized because there's chaos all the time. Phone calls, emails, distractions that happen always. So like, what are some of the best principles for you on staying organized?
So this to me has a lot to do with, because I have an assistant, right? So she organizes emails and office and files and all of that, right? But the other side of that is, how do you feel when you get home? So, what is the energy like when you get home, right? What does the kitchen look like and the living room? Is the laundry done? What is the house? How easy is it for your kids to find their clothes and their homework or their books, or, what does that environment look like? Is it clean? So for me, like, if stress work can be on the higher stress, not the bad stress, but it can be on the higher stress, go, meeting other people's needs, putting everything together, making sure that, you've checked all your tasks for that day and organize yourself for the next day. And then when you get home, do you want to feel that same way? Or do you want to breathe and enjoy and have love and laughter. You
Right.
know, some of us we can't even not be stressed out enough to laugh, right? To feel joyful, or to even sit, like that pit in your stomach that makes you feel like, oh my gosh, I gotta do laundry and I gotta go over here and I gotta do that. I gotta go by the store, and you know, can you just leave me alone for a few minutes so I can do this, you know,
Yeah.
to your kids. And it's not a good environment. So for me, that organization started at home. Like, how can the home be organized and the kids be organized? What are the things, again, evaluating every single week, because they grow up, every year is different. And that started off, I mean, barely when I could afford anything, I had a cleaner. 10 years now I've had a cleaner, and I was poor and broke 10 years ago.
Wow.
And I hired a cleaner because I couldn't keep up. I had 3 kids, I had a new business, and I had, you know, $25,000 of debt I was trying to pay off. I was living off of a credit card and needing to put my time and energy, not losing it with my kid because she was attached to me. And, you know, I only had 1 kid in school. The other 2 were with me. And so it was like, how do I do this? Well, okay, if I can call and I can find out how much will it cost, where's my sacrifice to get somebody at the house cleaning once a month so I can keep up with everything, right? And then scheduling those things. And then it, you know, graduated to once every 3 weeks, once a week, you know, now, and so on and so forth. So to me, organizing in at home is what, you know, my priority is.
Yeah, and of course, having an amazing assistant. I have four amazing assistants,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's incredible because when they're helping you in the tasks that you just can't get into, and they're specialized in what they do, and it's incredible when you're able to have that kind of help, right? And then being able to, like you said, you know, being able to hire somebody for the cleaning part, right? It's like, how many things can you do in a whole day? I mean, it's like there's just no way to get
Mm-hmm.
into all this. So having that kind of help and staying organized is really good. And 2 others I just wanted to cover is time management and then taking care of yourself. What would you say to both of those priorities? Because both of those are huge.
Oh yeah. Well, and they say you can't manage time, you can only manage yourself. And so, you know, I always say time self-management because time management is just what we accept as the term. But, you know, managing where you're spending your time and making sure that that aligns with your priorities. And I mean, you can even go coaching wise. I have to go backwards sometimes because some people don't even know what their priorities are.
Mm.
So what their goals are, what their priorities are for the year, you know, where are they lacking? Where do they need improvement personally, financially, business, professionally, all the different areas of life. We're in the day where people are constantly scrolling TikTok, or they have these Netflix series that they watch. And I'm not saying that that's not okay, but if there is a high amount of your time being spent on that, then you're missing out on life, missing out on a lot of things. And I mean, there's various times in my life where I've had a time frame where we could watch a series like Yellowstone, you know,
Yeah.
on YouTube TV or something, but it's definitely never consistent. I mean, I will go years without seeing a season of something just based on what I want to learn and what I want to educate and, you know, what we want to be doing. Again, constantly evaluating our life, what we like about it, what we don't like about it, and then implementing change. And so your time management exercise that I always have clients do is write down everything that you did for the last 3 days. Like 8 o'clock in the morning, woke up, you know, 8:38, whatever, 9 o'clock, you know, because they will find that there is 3, 4, 5 hours a day that they are just scrolling, or when they're eating lunch, that they're just on Facebook when they could be listening to an Audible if they have goals, you know, different things like that. And you should always be improving professionally or personally, right? Or mentally,
Yeah.
emotionally, whatever part it is, how to be a better dad, how to be a better mom, how to be, you know, a better, whatever, in relationship with somebody or whatever role you're taking. So, you know, that is why time management or self-management is a priority for me. And then taking care of yourself. I've always been a believer of this. I grew up, I was a heavy set child, and it was for lack of knowledge. I wasn't taught what was healthy for you and what the things I was eating and things that I was doing to my body. And so I actually took on a career later on in life as a nutrition specialist and physical trainer. So I learned a lot about, health and nutrition, and just obviously the food that you eat has a lot to do with your brain, and the focus that you have. And therefore I adopted a lot of athletic principles in my life. Things like, I don't like to hear I don't know. If somebody says something and says I don't know, or to me, it's a deference of focus, because you know something, so say what you do know. Or when somebody says I can't, at the gym, it was like when somebody said I can't, no, you won't. Let's accept responsibility for, our actions right this moment. It's not that you can't, it's that you won't. So own it, and then, move forward from there. And all of that came in my life, from 6 years of working on that, taking care of yourself side. And obviously there's a lot of emotional things that went on. I was a heavy kid, like you get made fun of, like boys would say stuff, like all that kind of stuff, like moved into my later years. I mean, I suffered from anorexia at one point. I was not eating, like, which gave me stomach problems, like, so on and so forth. So, and then I've had years of clients with some of these same things. And if you're not taking care of yourself, it's highly affecting your brain, but it's even more affecting your emotional stability. I mean, emotional stability, period.
Yeah.
And when you're emotionally, I don't care what your goals are or what you've been able to accomplish, when your emotional stability is off, like, you are not good. And probably a lot of people around you aren't either.
Yeah.
That's why that's number one on my list.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense, right? And for the time management part, I'm just thinking about, like, yeah, imagine how many hours in a day, if you really tracked it, that you really lose by just scrolling or doing whatever it is, and then you realize, well, wait a second, where'd the hour go? Where'd the minutes go? And it's just because you're not utilizing that time the right way. Everybody wants downtime and, to relax, but like, when it's sucking up hours and in days, it starts adding up real quick, and then you're missing out on other things, and you're rushing and not focused on other stuff that you're doing. So time management's huge, and I totally agree with you on taking care of yourself, especially the food you eat and what you eat, and how you're taking care of yourself, right? That affects your mind. I mean, because that kind of goes to the whole performing at a high level, right? And you're not eating burgers and fries every day or pizza every day. It's like, those, sometimes that could, like, really, keep you at a level and not take you beyond, right? Like, you want to have functioning items, right? And then just, taking that time off too. Like, that's part of, I see it as taking care of yourself, is really taking time off, go to the beach, go relax, go do something else, get outside your business world. Like, sometimes I'm like, just get out, because after a while, it's like, you have to decompress. You have to have your mind off business, off, name it, anything that you're working on, right? Off real estate, off firm stuff, off just talking about training and tasks. It's a whole thing. So yeah.
Celebrating yourself. I mean, for me, and probably for very many other people out there, celebrating yourself, it was hard for me. It was hard for me to celebrate whatever accomplishment, birthday or whatnot, because I was always, just focused on taking care of everybody else or whatever goals that I had. And so that's part of it. You need it for, I mean, what's life worth living if you're not joyful at the other end? And then what are you doing to be joyful? I have this calendar, or this clock, that I use as a reference. There's 12 points on it. It's the 12 places in life to achieve balance. And it's, constant. You're not going to always focus on all 12, but there's going to be in times in your life where you shift and move things around. You might focus on 5 or 6, and then one may fall off, and you add another one in. So you'll have time in your life where you have more adventure. You have time in your life where you're, like, hyper focused on relationship, or, so on and so forth, of all of those different areas.
Something people probably need to look at things like that, right? Visuals right there. Heather, this has been great. I mean, talking about community and priorities, and how to really start reshaping your life and refocusing on what matters and being able to have that self-care and organization, all that's huge, right? It plays all a part. We're not even talking about how to do a flip and getting contractors involved and a realtor involved and investors and a lawyer involved. We're talking about the things that are like very important to community and bettering yourself, which is a huge topic for a lot of people out there, because a lot of people think about it, but then it takes, having Heather Blatz come on the show and like confirm it. Like there's something about like, somebody actually saying it that confirms the belief. It's huge. Heather, I do this on my show where I ask about hot topics, hot trends, things that are bubbling, people are talking about, maybe something in the last week, last day, but something that everybody keeps going after and mentioning, or maybe you find that it's a hot topic. What is something right now is a hot topic or a hot trend?
Oh gosh. The only thing that I can think of is chat GPT.
Yeah.
I know, but I love it. Like I talk to it like it's my friend.
A lot of people.
I do. I think it's great. And I will like purposely go to TikTok to find what people are posting about chat GPT so I can figure out how to, make it more relevant, but it is making my life way more efficient. I will say that.
Hey, if you can find a way to leverage that kind of technology, and artificial intelligence, then it's going to change your life and your business. And if you find that way, you go for it. So I love it. Hey,
I love it.
That counts, because we've had others talk about chat GTP, GPT. Still can't even get it.
Which one is it?
We'll look back on this video years later and be like, oh, come on. So Heather, where can people find you? Where can people find your group, your Facebook group, REIG in Fort Walton Beach? We want to make sure people can reach out to you. And if they're in that area, because when we share the Al Nicoletti Show, it gets shared into that group. So somebody may be watching it going, wait, I'm in the area. I just moved here. I want to be a part. How can they get in touch with you?
Oh, yeah. So conveniently enough, this QR code behind me has everything. I recently was introduced to Link. I think you use Linktree because I downloaded that on your QR code earlier. But I switched over to Link, LINQ. And it's got the sites, the social media. And when you click on it and download my contact, it sends me your contact. So
definitely get in touch.
I would say that. I'd say Instagram, REIGNWF.com has got the information on REIG. We actually have people that travel and come by the REIG group. They will, I've had people that have traveled into anywhere within a 2-hour radius, and they come to the group.
Wow.
I've had people visit some places around here from Texas, from Georgia, from Alabama, from Mississippi, and they have all come to the group. It's pretty phenomenal.
Fantastic. Yeah. People from all around that nice little south part right there. That's great. Yeah. And like I said, for those that haven't been to Heather's group, it's really fascinating to watch. It's just the way she's able to facilitate it, moderate it, bring in the speakers. It's just different. And it's in an area it's booming over there. I mean, it's another hot area in Florida that a lot of people go to. I mean, Destin's not far away at all. It's like right there. And then you have Pensacola. It's not far on the left side. So it's amazing. And I love what you're doing, Heather. I think it's great. It's super inspiring for those that have always either wanted to build a group or they're looking for a group. Right? They're looking for a new community to be a part of. They're moving to that area. So keep it going. Don't stop. Every month, bring in the best speakers, bring in the best. I saw the panel. You're having panels. I mean, wow.
Yeah, that is going to be phenomenal. It's got a great response.
Huge. Yeah. Well, Heather, as I do on the Al Nicoletti Show, right at the end, I do a segment called Final Words, Final Thoughts. Anything that's on your mind, last things that you really want to say. It could be, we've had people talk about it in like one word. We've had people talk about it in 5 minutes, but this is your moment to talk about anything that's on Heather Blatz's mind. So as I always do, final words, final thoughts, Heather Blatz.
Oh, well, thank you. I always like to say this, because I know not often, at least for me growing up, it wasn't spoken to me all the time. But this is my true belief, is if you have something in your heart, if you have something that's constantly tugging on your heartstrings to accomplish or to do or to be a part of, like, you were meant to walk that out. So don't let anything or anyone or any limiting beliefs or old cultural habits that we have because of the way that we grew up tell you anything any different. Now's the time to let all that negativity go and just say, like, hey, like, I'm going to figure out how to do this. I know, as a young kid, I knew that I was going to impact thousands of people, if not more than that. I didn't know how, how it was going to come about. And, but I accepted it, and I always was outspoken, whether somebody liked it or didn't like it. I knew that I was growing myself so I could be positive, so I could be uplifting to people. And I knew, I was videoing prayers at it's like 2012, 2010, when YouTube wasn't even cool, and putting it out there. And I was so nervous about it, but there's just that something in me knew that I was speaking out to people, and I was speaking, for them in some cases. And, here we are years later, where I have people that actually come up to me that bring those videos up. They say that when you remember when Facebook did lives back years and years ago, and like people were actually watching them, and they were long, not short, before you could just like flick through the screen.
Yeah.
And people now tell me, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, 10 years ago, when you did these videos, I had something tragic happen in my life, and that got me through it. And so, I've always had that belief, if you have something in you, your heart or whatever in your heart that you want to accomplish, and you may not have all the details, start walking it out, and just don't let anything tell you any different.
I love it. I love it. Heather, you've been amazing being on the show. I'm so happy we got to bring you on. We got to do this because, again, community is everything.
Yes.
And what you've done is beautiful. Keep it rolling. Keep it going. We're cheering you on. Can't wait to see how you keep growing it over there. And I'll connect with you again soon. I'm sure I'll see you soon. I don't know if you're in Jacksonville, another RIA. I'll be back over at Destin, but we'll do it again.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Al. Thanks for allowing me to be a part of your community. I know that you reach a ton of people with what you do, and what you're walking out, that your dreams are, your passion is. I know you're in the right place doing the right things.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's the show's taken a life of its own too.
Yeah.
It's definitely more from the first season to season 4. So
yeah, it's great. It's everywhere. Remember, it's on Audible.
We got to check that out. That was something she mentioned earlier. It's on Audible. Everybody watching. Heather, for the first time I found out about this, you got to check it out. Heather Blatz said that the Al Nicoletti Show is on Audible.
Mm-hmm.
Of all the platforms, like, we're on every single, and it's like Audible. And check it out. If you want to listen, hey, in the airplane, download her episode. If you couldn't catch it, download it, go listen to the whole thing on Audible. So love it. Heather, it's been a blast. We'll connect again soon.
Sounds good. See you later.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, everybody. Another amazing show with Heather Blatz on the Al Nicoletti Show on this episode. It's amazing when we can have people from different communities, and she's in that Fort Walton area in Florida, and it's amazing what she's doing by building this community over there. If you've never checked it out, go check out Heather and the REIG group. It's in Fort Walton Beach. They meet at the Fort Walton Yacht Club. A lot of people come. There have to be 75 to 100 people a meeting. And I know she's growing it. So, and they have the Facebook group as well. So be a part of these communities. Get out there, right? Get out there and explore, find it. And it's amazing what she's doing. So if you missed any of it, check it out. You can find all the guests on the Al Nicoletti Show on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and now Audible. Audible is out there. And on YouTube under Al Nicoletti, the Facebook page, the business page, and of course, all the micro content constantly dropping on Instagram at Attorney Nicoletti with all the probate partitions, quiet titles, and all the weird stuff in the title world that I see all the time. It's crazy stuff out there. I will see you all next Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. I love you all. Thank you for joining the episode. I'll see you then. Have a great night. Take care.